you know? You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes we try to be compassionate and helpful, but then sometimes you gotta realize, like, I can't help this person. You know, I'll give you a book. You gotta maybe read this, but that's all I can help you. No, you can't come in. Sorry.
Like someone asks for money for, like, they want beer, instead they're really hungry, you go, I can buy you a sandwich for not a beer. Yeah.
Right,
You know?
right. So, you know, wow, it's like spinning in circles, like energetically. I mean, in some of the confrontation, you know, I always avoid walking in circles, you know, miss the redirecting energy and all of that stuff. Here I see it applying in a higher skill level, energetically. Yeah, I was like, wow, this is a higher skill level, but same principles of the internal martial arts that I've been studying. I'm seeing this applied in a higher energetic level. Like, wow. Because when you're dealing with refined energy, it is refined, yeah? The seductress don't look like the demon don't look like a demon. They look like a seductress. Or a handsome figure, you know what I mean? To get you in. That's poison, yeah? Yes. So at the ranch, you know, there was a talk about Elen, you know, a lot of talk about disaster, preparing for disaster, preparing for earth changes, earth shifts, earthquakes, meteors, Nibiru, and all that stuff, right? And it just seemed like the T2000 was invested in disaster, and there was no solutions. He just kept talking about disaster. I mean, this is going to happen. And then when it didn't, he just moved on to the next subject, you know. When Elen came through, you guys all remember Elen? That's a big thing, yeah. I was caught up in that, yeah. Oh man, he just talked about Elen like it was a sure thing. Here's the scientific reports that came out of NASA, blah blah blah. Told urged people not to travel, not to do this. Then afterwards, during that time, I had to really tell a lot of people. They called, they would come up. They're like, I live in the city. I live next to the coast. Like, I can't get away. What do I do? Like, I'm like, whoa, calm down. Like, you know, it's not about. I had to really calm them down. Tell them, like, you gotta look at the bigger picture here. It's not about survival. It's about you're spiritual, right? I mean, yeah, you should be spiritual, right? It's about evolution. It's about the growth of the soul. It's not about where you are physically. It's about where you are in your heart. Yeah, with the divine, yeah? And so I had to really calm people down. Then after Elen and nothing happened, people would call up and be like, man, you told me to not do this, and I told people not to fly, and nothing happened. Why don't we get back to this subject at hand? And he would be like, I didn't say that. It wasn't me. I didn't do that. And everybody at the ranch is like, are you freaking serious? That's been on your mind 24/7. And then, you know, we prepare for. He has food, huge stacks, like a crate, buried crate, underneath, inside one of the buildings. And I don't know how long he's been preparing for food. So he's been preparing. That's his identity. Remember the moon and the reflection? So he's been preparing a lot of food for a while now. There's a basement. He was thinking about building walls, secret walls, to hide the food, and then within secret walls, and then at the end, where the stairway comes down. He was like, yeah, then we should cut holes here, so when people come down and try and steal our food, we should shoot them. And we're like, what? Dude, if they're coming, I mean, after the disaster, and the chaos, and the crashing, if they're coming here, it means they're hungry. Shouldn't we feed them? And like,
It's like that one
community,
yeah.
you know, shouldn't we feed them and help get them back onto our feet and make them part of our community? And we're all like the other people who are there with us. We're like, what's wrong with you, dude? After D-Day, you know, we all had started seeing visions of like people coming to the property, just bum rushing the property, you know, because of the scare of Elen. And then after the disaster and all that stuff, you know, we're thinking about what are we gonna do when people do show up? And I wanted to try and brainstorm, if that does happen, what do we do? T2000 goes, yeah, we have to fence them off over there and not let them come in and get our food or anything like that, and like, you know, try, you know, this is our stuff. And I'm like, what? Dude, if disaster, doomsday happen, I ain't turning anybody away. I'm gonna make them family. We want to help work together and grow crops and survive together. Because chances are, majority of the humanity has died off. This is all that we've got left. Why are you going to turn them away? What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's like, wow, you're going to shoot them?
Is there a bunch of guns and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's got like 2 shotguns, 3 rifles, 5 handguns. Supposed to be a spiritual leader.
Yeah, but then, was
A
it
tank.
Elizabeth Chan Prophet? Didn't she do the same thing?
Who?
Was it Elizabeth Chan Prophet?
Oh, I don't know.
She bought property in Colorado and the mountains and they told themselves the same thing.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
totally very religious.
well, because and then what happens is they say prepare for the worst, pray for the best. But when you prepare for the worst and that has become your identity, you become invested in it. And then what happens is that you start manifesting that because you prepare for that.
Right.
Uh,
What have a TV show on that? What is it? You guys see it? All these people are like the rapping in the world. What is that? They got like the full on. The wife, they'll teaching the kids how to shoot and.
that's what I'm getting at now. Is prophecy creates reality. In the beginning, there was the Word. The Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was with God. Here, I think word alludes to vibration, sound, and frequency. Yeah, it's all about create vibration and frequency. The law of attraction is always at work. Negative thinking equals fatal attraction. What happens when you invest in disaster? You're supposed to be evolved and spiritual. So here we have people who are evolved manifesting disaster. At least that's what I believe. If you invest, that's all you're talking about. Energy goes where attention goes. So that's scary, and a lot of us at the ranch is starting to be like, yo, man, we're not digging this message. We're not digging what he's putting out. Because when we first came, we learned a lot, but like we realized like he's at a platform, and I always tell people I give him props because he's probably done a lot of legwork in this UFO field. But somewhere along the line, there was a mission update that he missed. Let's create the reality rather than wait for the reality to crash. Yeah? So prophet, the prophet is, what is the definition of prophet is to speak in place of, to speak for. And in this case, usually it's the prophet of God. But it's not God, it's of gods, of ETs. Yeah, so they're interpreting the will of the ETs when they're doing prophecy, channeling, same thing. Who is this? Who are you talking to? I don't know who you're talking to. And again, I'm not that fool anymore. I started off as the fool. We're equals now. I don't care if you have a form or no form. We're equals. We see eye to eye. Just because you don't have a form and I have a form doesn't mean you're evolved in me, then you know my best interest. I'm my own self-authority. I learned a little bit, by now. So, guess what kind of wood? Harry Potter. Guess what kind of wood is this? Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Because
From the holly tree.
Yeah.
What does Hollywood do? Theater used to be sacred. Storytelling used to be sacred. In that, it was only the wisdom keepers, the shamans, the elders that told stories, the myths. Because it kind of conditioned your mind to reality and what is real and what is possible. Now you got a location named after a legend, a particular vibration, a particular frequency, and it pumps out stories. What do they have in stories? They cast. They cast. They have cast. They cast. They cast spells. Prophecy creates reality. Prophecy, channeling, same thing. Wow, scary. There was an incident. There was an incident of a famous channeler. When I first went to his website, this channeler was so famous. He has a big property, charges big top-notch bucks. Top bucks for CEOs, and on top of his website, he'd have demonstration of his students picking card games, roulette games, and just nailing everything. Amazing gift, amazing skill. I first came to the site, I was like, whoa, that's not good. Red flag. You know what I mean? What kind of people are you going to attract with that kind of skill? Straight on your home page. So T2000 had studied with this famous channeler for a while, and he had some recognition when in his early days from this famous channeler, and it was one of his like teachers and idols and stuff like that, you know, because he was acknowledged. And you know, this famous channeler has like maybe 300 to 500 people at his gatherings when he does his big events. And T2000 was singled out at one of this famous channelers talking, you know, called him a master. What are you doing here? Get on with your, you know, with your mission in life. And so one time he did a critical update. So, and this famous channeler teaches his students how to create their reality, consciously creating reality, you know. And then one time he did a critical update. He was talking about, oh, this disaster is going to happen, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. And then, so everybody was into it. Then I was like, wait a minute. If his army is a conscious creating army, and he's telling them what's going to happen, isn't he telling them indirectly to create this? Because he's trained them how to create reality. Now he's telling them, this is going to happen. This is not an if, and, or but. This is already in the reality. I'm telling you to prepare, blah blah blah, you know. And so the students was like, you know, they had to prepare. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. But then T2000 and another one who was living at the property had studied with them. It was their teacher, you know. Then after that, another update, and the third update. Wow, this famous channeler said, like, because of the Fukushima event, all this nuclear spill, we told you guys don't use nuclear energy. Now you guys don't listen. Now it's spewing out all this nuclear waste. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to sink the continent. And we've done this before, and it's going to create a 1,000-foot wave. It's going to rush out and wipe everything around the Pacific Rim. In 3 days, march up the mountain and go inland. Take your family, take everything. I've prepared you. He in the past, he's gave predictions about the prices of gold, and these are already like people who are very affluent. So they've invested in a lot of gold and they made a lot of money because of his predictions. And so now he's telling them, 1,000-foot wave, 3 days, you take your family and you march inland. And we're like, what? During that critical update, man, the channeler was getting shit-faced, drunk. People were leaving because he was talking too long. And the channeler would be like, you know how much people pay for my audience? Get out of here. Get out. Leave. And he was cussing people out, spitting, vomiting on himself. Yeah. And so, wow. It was a wake-up call for T2000. It checked their ego.
Who's the channeler that you're talking about? Can't you give us his name at least? Is this
I
a
know.
proper teacher? Can we please know
Give
his
us some initials.
name?
Give us initials.
Yeah, or
Not
something?
on the camera.
'Cause
Oh, okay.
Not on the camera.
Okay.
on
Okay.
camera?
Not on the camera. I mean,
Okay.
again, I'm just trying to
It's
develop
too
this talk
abstract
because of
to
my
me.
experience. Yeah.
No.
Because people can change. I mean, I'm not trying to.
I won't think any bad of him. I just want to quote his name.
In my position, I'm aware that this is my story, and this is I have to be aware of who else is going to be watching my story, and so I don't want to be pointing fingers at people. I can talk to. We can talk about it afterwards. So T2000 and the other girl had a serious ego check because they had based a lot of went through what I went through. I had to like move the image of the moon in the reflection. That was serious. I mean, after that, there was no doubt that wow, this was not a good. You know, there's a famous Chinese saying: "You raise your army for 1,000 days. You support your army. You feed your army. You shelter your army for 1,000 days, and you use your army once, when it counts." We're at 2012, baby. This is where it counts, and you gotta be sharp. And here, this famous China was using his army, raised his army for 1,000 days, trained them, and using it at this one time to create a 1,000-foot wave. Can you imagine that? Wow! Sounds like one of those people that wants to destroy the world so they can rebuild and create a beautiful Garden of Eden. You know, like. Wow, really? Channeling, and again, this was already on my talk. You know, prophets and channelers interpret the will of the gods, and we already saw what Zeus is. You know what I mean? Zeus was like, wow, I mean, wasn't quite very integral. And I believe there's so much material out there. I believe it's like TV for spiritual people. There's so much channeling material out there. How can you tell who is this authority? What position are they? Can I see an ID? How do I know that you're telling me you are who you are? You're telling me you are. I had one of my friends who was in the know. He told me the government puts out a lot of this info, and what they do is they broadcast frequencies out for people to pick up and just to kind of derail people, you know. And also with Project Bluebeam, in that with the technology of Bluebeam, they already have the technology where they can project images, voices in your head directly. We saw that with Tupac Shakur recently, Coachella Music Awards. Yeah.
Sterling talked about that. You know, remember Sterling, because he was the guy that was in Russia that was experimented from local resident. He talked about how they project things in his head. Remember?
Stuart Swerdlow.
You know what I'm talking about?
Stuart Swerdlow.
Yeah. He talks about all that projection.
So like, wow, I mean, wow, that's how do you? And literally, I mean, this is just one planet where we have 6 billion people. But what about the spaces in between and the other dimensions? And I've been fooled before, and now, like, dude, I used to be very religious. I used to be very to the T and all that stuff. And now it's like, dude, don't even come with me at any authority. If you're not coming with me with love, dude, you're no authority. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm coming from because of what I've been through. I believe channeling is like plant medicine. You're supposed to use it occasionally when you really need to, as just in case of. But you're supposed to use it less and less because you develop your own sovereignty, your own truth. You know, your own connection to the one source. And I believe in medicine plants, you know, but you're supposed to use it with discretion, and you're supposed to use it with purpose and intent, and use with less and less because it is putting yourself out there. In the old days of the Greek mythology, you had the people who didn't know anything about this, who have no idea. Then you had the priest class, who prayed to the gods and stuff like that. And I call the people the sleepers of their spiritual reality. The priest class is the people who are in a spiritual New Age group, who are a little bit aware of this stuff. And then you have the hero, who does not pray to the gods. He goes out, he makes changes in his life with his own effort, with his own energy, gets up daily with his own efforts. Does not pray to the gods. You have the priest class that praying to the gods to come down, change the reality, fix things for you. They used to pray to their gods also, you know, like you see in the movies of Hercules, Achilles, and all that stuff, you know. When Troy, the recent Troy, when Achilles, you know, he raided Apollo's temple, and he told them, "Where's your God now?" You know what I mean? You're praying to your God, but your God doesn't do it. This is our reality. This is our realm. We're humans. This is our manifestation where we are supposed to make the changes. And I really urge you guys to try and play that hero part. You know what I mean? Not to be dramatic or anything, but really, we need to be the ones who goes against the grain of all of the culture, all of the tradition, of all of the people praying. We need to step up. And I know this material right here, this channeling talk, is going to piss off a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to defend their matrix and their program, but this is just my reality, my experience because of what I went through.
Right,
And
it's your experience.
This is
and
my
you have
experience,
to-
yeah.
Because
This is my...
I'm not sure what you're saying about channeling, but it sounds kind of negative. And you have to understand that channeling is not, it's not that they're giving their power away to gods. They're just bringing information through to help others.
Right.
Now, there are people who misuse and abuse that skill, but channeling is just an ability or a skill that can be used for good or bad. Some people use it to amass great fortunes. Then there are some that truly use it to try to help others. And not all gods are bad either. And the God concept, you have to understand that there's energy that is in everything. And there are gods that have built this world. And I don't think back in ancient times, these were people more so worshiping gods. They're just recognizing the force behind the ocean, the force in the sky, the force in the tree. They're recognizing it and knowing what those forces can do. So that's not saying that you're bowing down to the god or goddess. It's just recognizing that there is an energy to everything.
Right. And this is this is just my experience, and because I'm giving the picture of what I've been through, and I'm sharing you from my.
But you're down Zeus, and I'm like, well, why are you putting down the god Zeus? He did whatever he did, but not all gods are perfect.
So gods are ETs, and I'm just making a distinction and making a clarification for people. I mean, and again, I do say that this is my experience, and go and feel this for yourself if it resonates with you.
They're learning too. They're creators,
right.
And they're learning too.
Right.
And they make mistakes.
Right.
So.
Right. And this is just my experience. This is just my experience, and all I can share is what I've learned, and this is what I'm trying to do. There's another one. And when you listen to channel material, because I do read channel material myself, I do read material myself. It is very uplifting and positive, but I urge you to look at the bait and the hook, because whenever people come and talk to you, chances are they're going to present truth to you. Like when you go fishing, the bait has to look good. Everybody's going to present good bait, but try and see if you can find where the hook is at, because. Like with me, find where my hook is at, because I am coming from a personality and a perspective that is very different from yours, and I do have my dents and scars and stuff like that, and I urge you to find that in my material here, because I'm sure I have one, and so I urge you to not stop checking out channeling material, but be a little bit more discerning and see where the bait and the hook is at. Was some of the things you can do was the message empowering? Was it from love? Which chakra did it hit you? Was it a command? Like sometimes I've had experiences where there were beings that came in when I was at the ranch. A lot of these people were super gifted. T2000 was super gifted, but occasionally would have some commands like, "Oh, you need to develop your third eye," and wait a minute, this feels different. Like, oh, it doesn't feel good, You need to open your heart. Can you open your heart more? Can you open your heart more? How does that feel? It feels like, huh? Really? My heart, it makes you doubt yourself, yeah? So, was it a command, or are they empowering you? And again, because of what I've been through, I used to pray, and I used to be super superstitious and religious. And now I'm on the same platform. I mean, unless I only try to connect with Source. Anything other than that, we're equals. And if you want to connect, let's connect on love. And if you're not connecting with me with love, I prefer not to connect, and that's just because of what I've been through. I've been burnt so much, and I'm just sharing that. I tried to put this as neutral as possible, but it is, because of that famous channel there, I am just trying to share that. And again, if somebody comes and tells me, "Hey son, there's going to be something happening right now, blah, blah, blah," and I prepare myself for this, and if it doesn't, I can come up to you and be like, "Dude, why'd you tell me that?" I can hold you liable, and your reputation is at hand. But with channeling, we really don't know who is coming through, and if they are really who they are, And it's just to be err on the caution side. And again, because I urge you to be the hero. On planet Earth, we are in sort of like a coliseum, and there are other beings in this entire universe that's watching this coliseum. And some people are on the sidelines screaming for help. They're not playing their part in the Colosseum. They're not being the hero that their heart wants them to be. So that's just me. And I am a little extreme. Can you blame me from what I've been through? Okay, next week.
Well, it seems like you have probably an extreme type of personality. It's sort of like an all or nothing kind of person.
Well, because of what I've been through, I've been
But I mean, just from maybe, I think it carries over into incarnation. we tend to probably be a little extreme.
Probably, yeah. Okay, another verse from Huo Hu Ching. Again, this is from Lao Tzu, founder of Taoism. Do not go about worshipping deities and religious institutions as the source of the subtle truth. To do so is to place intermediaries between yourself and the divine, and to make of yourself a beggar who looks outside for a treasure that is hidden within his or her own breast. I just love that when I read that. If you want to worship the Tao, first discover it in your own heart, and then your worship will be meaningful. Again, connect with your heart, yeah? Connect with your heart, because the intellect can get confused, the eyes can be blinded, the ears can be susceptible to flattery words, you know? But the heart never lies, yeah? And this is just a beautiful verse that I wanted to share. More red flags. There's more red flags. Again, I'm at the ranch, right? I'm at the ranch, and I'm doing a dark retreat, right? I want to do a dark retreat. Like I just broke off with T1000. I'm just like intense on my path, and I want to do a silent retreat, a dark retreat. I did a dark retreat, and T2000 was like, because he died, he had his gift because of his death experience, so he doesn't really work or has a discipline or a practice, you know. So I did a dark retreat. I did a 3-day dark retreat in a room, all darkness. I had my own food in there, bathroom in there, and everything, and stayed in there silent for 3 days, you know, by myself. And this other girl, Michelle, wanted to do it too, so I helped. She helped hold the space for me, and I helped hold the space for her. After we were done, you know, T2000 was like, you don't need to do that. You don't have to do that. You know, just call in the higher beings, and it was kind of like not quite discouraging, but sort of like playing, like saying like, oh, silly kids, you know. Then later on, he's on a radio show. One of the guests is talking about like, oh yeah, the guest is like he does conscious rap, conscious lyrics, and so the guest talks about occasionally I'll do a silent retreat. T2000 goes, oh yeah, we do dark retreats here, and he one-upped his guest, and we're listening like, are you freaking kidding me? You just dissed us for trying to do this dark retreat. Now you're one-upping the guest of your interview. Wow, you had to one-up him, like your ego competition. His radio shows, if you ever listen to his radio shows, he goes down to his radio show room 15 minutes before to prepare. He says, we urge him to do some research about his guests, so he knows who he's interviewing and all that stuff. He's like, oh, it's okay, I just go in, tap in 15 minutes before, and I have everything I need to know. And so his interviews are mostly about him telling the guest who he is and one-upping his guest. And a lot of us had a lot of hard time listening after a while. And it was what it was, and a lot of us was like, man, these interviews are just all about him. After a few interviews, you realize he's just talking about the same thing over and over, occasionally one-upping his guests. If you read his books, T2000, you should see the way he rips on his family, his brother, his mother. It's just crazy, just crazy. And these were red flags that should have sparked something. What was funny was that a lot of us there, whenever he took off, we'd always joke, the energy feels so good. As soon as he would take off from the property, we'd all just laugh and it was just amazing when he took off.
Did his family like disown him? That why he was talking about them like that? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
It's probably something.
He has a daughter, but the daughter doesn't live with him. The sister raised his daughter. I think it was he believes his mission is so important that he doesn't have time for his daughter. He didn't raise his daughter and stuff like that. It was just his mission was so important. You know, so that was crazy. And after what I've been through, I started seeing all these red flags. And at first, I had respect for the guy. And then, you know, at first I learned a lot from him. I had respect for him. Then after I seen all these red flags, I was like, wow, you're no different than me. Just because you got gifts, and he does have gifts, just like T1000. Love that name, huh? T2000 does have gift. He has serious gift. But just like when we were firing the grid, he just called him the masters. That's crazy. And so when I started seeing through the rift and seeing through the cascade, Like, he started, it's like you're playing a card game and you notice somebody is cheating on the card game. You're gonna try and get the guy away and not want him to come to your games and stuff like that because you don't want him around. Because he sees through your face, But, so that's what it was like. We started having a little riff, Because I started seeing all of this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're not different than me. So, next slide. Season 3. Can you imagine living in a retreat center where we are talking about spirituality and stuff like that, trying to save and prepare for disaster. With all the events that we do, we never have group meetings. We never do anything together. No meditation, and it's just all work and preparing for disaster. No group meetings, so we're pushing for that because I was like, wow. We don't even, the only time we sit together is sometimes when we have dinner. We never get together. We never know what each other is going through. Sometimes we're going through a hard time. Sometimes we can help support each other. We started doing a little bit meetings and stuff, but it never quite stuck. And it was because the guy at the top didn't quite like that type of structure and talk. At this time, my savings was going down. I had to teach my workshops and classes, Everybody else was the same thing, Savings was all gone. We were all living in poverty, except we're bringing in all the dough for the property and the ranch, Occasionally there were kickbacks from the big conferences and stuff like that, but wow, everybody was struggling. That's when the rift really came, was that when previously T2000 was in California, he did a workshop and met this one girl, and then the girl came up to the ranch, and I had hooked up with the girl and told the T2000 that I was gonna go and hang out with the girl, and he was like, I was like, what do you think about her? He was like, oh yeah, I like her energy. She stood me up for dinner at the California and stuff like that. She said she was going to come back, but she never come back, and I could tell, like, oh, he was a little bit sour about that, and we hooked up, and then, wow, it wasn't it wasn't accepted that I found somebody that I liked, it wasn't accepted, and I was like pushing it because I'm like, I've been bleeding, sweating, and shedding tears here for 3 years, and I find somebody that I like and it's not being accepted. Like, she's an outsider. I was like, what? So then after that, there was this one guy who was in the scene talking about ETs and on being more discerning and all that stuff. I call him the paradigm destroyer because he really talks about religion and different things and talked about his experience about energy vampirism and he just really challenged a lot of my views. So I call him the paradigm destroyer. And I pushed for him to come to the ranch because I knew it would challenge everybody at the ranch, because here's one guy who talked about sovereignty, being very clear about who you're working with in the energetic realm, because you don't know who you're tapping into, and whereas T2000 just was all about calling in the masters and having the masters do everything, And so I pushed for the paradigm destroyer, and during the conference I was really having a hard time because of this competition that we didn't jive. Then afterwards we didn't get along. I think I jumped in too quick, too fast, and so it didn't turn out too well. But then when we had the paradigm destroyer, I had to keep working, and I was really exhausted, tired, mentally, emotionally, energetically, just broken. And this is right after T1000, and then all of this experience, so I was like pushed to the brink of exhaustion. And at the same time, I had to work. I had to do a lot of videos. When we have these conferences, we have like 8 to 12 speakers, and I had to record all of these speakers, and I was expected to produce the DVDs of all of them by the end of the weekend. If you ever edited videos, you know how much work and how long each video takes? And I was expected to produce 12 DVDs of all these speakers by the end of the weekend. This one, same thing. So not quite being aware of what kind of work we've been contributing and what kind of work it takes to that we've been doing for the property, and why it was being so receiving abundance, because of all of our work. I mean, literally, I was slaving it out. Yeah. Okay, next page. Some of the brainwashing I started to realize before I moved to the ranch. Talked to T2000, I told him, yeah, I'm trying to pay off some credit card bills and then move up. And he goes, it's all going to crash anyways, it's designed to enslave you and this and that. And I was like, oh, really? So when I got there, he told me the same thing, and I started living there, so screw it. I ain't paying for my bills, it's all going to go down anyway, right? Hawaii's going to go down, you know what I mean? Hawaii's going to crash. Thank God Hawaii's still here. So, and then other people, he'd tell them, like, especially if they're women, oh man, he'd urge them to quit their jobs, and told my friend, like, you're the queen here, just you can do anything you want, I'll take care of you. And I found out that's what he told the 24-year-old girl that went bonkers when I first moved there. That's what he told her, that he'd take care of her, and that's why she was upset and went bonkers, was because she realized it was actually entrapment. Yeah, portraying yourself to be really nice, soft-spoken, and all of that stuff. But then once getting people there, just not investing in people back, because we all invested a lot into a common belief and a mission that we thought was important, that would make a difference, But then when you invest in something and that something doesn't invest in you back, it's just like you get squeezed, and it's like kind of parasitic in nature. There's more, but I'm not going to get into it. It would be too much.
So he's not such a great character, but yet the ETs still find that his ranch is a good place to come down and do whatever they do. So the moral of the story for you is not to give over your power to him. I don't really understand.
Oh yeah, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
So I think with him is like, nothing invested. He's not investing back in the earth, I believe, He's not investing back in his family, his neighbors, or his community. If you talk, and this is about so that you can see when you do meet someone like that, are they investing in their family? Are they investing in their neighbors, trying to make the neighbor a better place? Are they investing in their communities? T2000, wow, he just ripped on his family, on his neighbors, on his communities. There's nothing good to talk about with his neighbors. He's basically waiting for the mothership, the gods, to pick him up. Because and T1000 also has a ticket out. Yeah, so they have nothing invested. They're ready to jump ship. Other guest speakers, what they felt, why it was an amazing place and why we had a powerful event over there was because of the people that lived in service there, the service and the sacrifice that we did, the circle that we held. That was true. That was real. Because there was no return. We expected nothing. We really, really lived in service. But the service turned into servitude. Yeah. Some of the speakers came to help. I know one came directly, specifically to help, and can't see it. Cannot see it. And some of the speakers I know they were challenged. Deceptive ETs and gods. Yeah. ETs is gods, and we look at ancient mythology. The gods, they were not all the most virtuous of beings. They were mischievous, tricksters and stuff like that. So it lets you know to okay, just because you have amazing powers and abilities and live in another dimension or realm, wait a minute, you're not all that virtuous. So we're more equal, yeah. Why we came? I think because there were obviously karmic connections, and the events that we held were super powerful, and a lot of seeds were planted, and a lot of seeds got spread out. And I think T2000 got jaded. Even T1000, a lot of our spiritual teachers in the Dark Ages got jaded, got hurt, because it was the Dark Ages, and sometimes the universe tries to show them more love, show them more support. We brought in so much money that he's never experienced that much abundance and affluence. That hopefully they would recognize and feel something real, that we were contributing, that we were giving, that he wasn't the only one, and maybe it was just to finish karmic obligations. And we accomplished a lot. And 2012 is the closing of a major cycle, and it's just cycles. It's a cyclic pattern, And with that, it means another cycle begins. And even within my own life, I recognize that there's a lot of closing of major cycles within my karmic connections. And this is about evolution. It's not about survival. We gotta look at the bigger picture here. The heart's calling. So things were really sour at the ranch, and then I was preparing to come back to Chinese New Year to visit in Hawaii, and T2000 is gone. I was in the house and talking with another guy, and then all of a sudden the radio's playing upstairs, and we're like, "Whoa, the radio just turned on." It's almost done. So the radio just turned on. I was like, "Whoa, that's weird." So I went upstairs and like, "Whoa, radio's on." So I walk upstairs, walk to the radio, and go and push it off. And right before I touch the button, it turns off. And then how the stereo has words, and it reads goodbye. I was like, so I just start cracking up. I'm like, wow, how's that? Wow. So I come back here, and I visit my family, and I'm training with the head priest again. And man, just train with him. The principles and the concepts just hit me. And I know that my heart just called that this is what I need to do. This is what I want to do. I missed this. This is what I want to do, and I just knew that I had to move back. Prior to then, I never thought about moving back. And I just knew I had to move back. My heart just called, and if you ever had that heart calling, it's amazing. Impossible.
The heart chakra is on Honolulu. I mean, the earth.
The earth, yeah?
Yeah.
Hawaii, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, so, I knew I had to move back, and I accepted it. The next day, my core seized up. Wow, my core seized up. I woke up and all my nerves was pinched. I had a hard time even walking. Sometimes my muscle would fail and my muscles would buckle, And this is right after the next day I accepted to come back, and it was just like, whoa, what went on? I saw a friend who worked on me, and man, thank God I worked on myself, and it was like a miracle. In a week I was 80 to 90% better, but from not able to turn to even turning on the bed, it was sore. I had to really work on my core and get clear on what's in here and what's going on. Right after I decided to move back, it was like, wow. Right after I decided to move back, I just pulled back and I started seeing the bigger picture of my life and what was the events and what was going on. It was really like this was all meant to be. Everything played out as it should. And this is the right move, and I was just like blown away. Next verse. Do not imagine that the integral being has the ambition of enlightening the unaware or raising worldly people to the divine realm. To her there is no self and other, and hence no one to be raised, no heaven and hell, and hence no destination. Therefore, her only concern is her own sincerity. Her own sincerity is not talking about her own development or her own enlightenment. Her own sincerity in teaching and doing whatever she's doing and helping. All that matters is her own sincerity. Doesn't matter about other people. You know what I mean? In one sense, it's sort of like a paradox, yeah. It's not saying do not teach people to try and raise people. It's saying all that matters is your sincerity. I was trying to leave with honor with T2000 because I learned a lot. I had a lot of good experiences. I met a lot of good people, and we don't jive anymore. So let's part and let's just honor and respect each other, and let's just walk away. I told everybody at the ranch that. Everybody was super, super happy that was my choice and my decision. And I told him I was planning on moving back, and he goes, "Oh, how long are you gonna? When are you moving back?" I was like, "Oh, maybe a couple months. I gotta work, save money, And then he goes, "A couple months? Wow." I was like, "Yeah, maybe I can show the other people how to edit the videos and how to do what I do and train them, whatever." He's like, "Oh, we have somebody who do video and this and that," and then he just ducks and walks out of the room. And I'm like, "Whoa! I just worked, stayed there for 3 years, brought in all this money, all this promotion, made all this video for you, and You just walk out like that. I told the other people that, everybody there, and they were all super disappointed. They were all super shocked. Like, show a little heart. You know? I just gave of myself, lived in service for 3 years. So I was like, you know what? I told the other guy, I know he's going to manifest a way for me to sabotage this, to steal something, to ruin something, and I'm not going to let it work. I'm not going to let it happen. That's why he was dealing with county issues, because the darkness doesn't care. Whatever's working through him. And I believe he's genuinely good. It's just that a lot of people are not aware of what's coming through them. If your ego is, if you're running through ego, through self-service and all that stuff, man. So I knew he was going to try and sabotage it, and I was prepared for it. And you know, he said when I told him I was going to move, one of the girls, they were having a conversation, and he told the girls that he'll pay for my shipping. And the girls was like, wow, that's awesome, you know. And then afterwards, the girls talked to him like, man, that's really nice that you're going to pay for his shipping. And he goes, what? I didn't say that. And she was like, what are you talking about? You told me that you're going to pay for his shipping. And I already told son. And he was like, I didn't say that. You're putting things in my mouth. They had an argument, and it got a little bit ugly. And finally, the other girl stepped up, and the other girl told him, like, you said that. You said you were going to pay for his shipping. I was there. And he goes, well, I didn't mean it. And she was like, what? And I was like, you know what? Forget it. Forget it. I'm just going to pay for my own shipping. Dude, I'm just going to stand up on my 2 feet, and I was like, forget it. That's all right. Whatever. The last day, I told him I was going to, tomorrow I'm taking off this time. And I was just going to say goodbye, thank him for the opportunity. I had a great experience, and I wish you well in your journey. So the next day, I wake up, I go into the house, and the car's gone. He's gone. Took off in town. And he took his dog with him. We all loved that dog, you know? And I took his dog with him, and took the other girl with him. And wow, the other people was just like super disappointed. They're like, dude, just wait here, wait for him to come back. I was like, dude, I'm not waiting. I have a flight to catch. And they were super sad in that he could not even part with honor. You know, he could not even part with honor. And I left. I was like, forget it, whatever. I left. So now, that's when I came back here, I started reflecting on 9 years of my life, and it has been 9 years. And when I first started as the Fool, I was searching outside of myself. I was praying to every single God, every single religion, and super, super meek, and you know, I didn't know anything. My first teacher would always be like, you have to think 3 steps ahead of your opponent. When we're dealing with the gods, guess how many steps do they play ahead? They play years, thousands of years ahead. They play in evolutionary terms, you know. We live a mere. They say a lot of the gods, you know, they say a lot of these other races, they live hundreds of years, if not thousands. Yeah, there's accounts of that. Yeah, they said in the old days, kings used to live 300-400 years. So if we're what kind of how far do they play? You know, so just trying to give you an idea of how sharp you need to be, because you are playing with beings who actually exist in other dimensions and like concepts. And I was talking to an old friend, and we started talking, and I started sharing some experience, and we started laughing. He's like, "Wow, you met a Sith Lord," and we started laughing. I'm like, "Dude, I did," and the senator. You know what I mean? Remember the senator before he revealed himself as the Sith Lord? The Sith Lord and the senator, someone who held a position of trust and love out in the open. And what I think is, it's just the spiritual teachings of Kali Yuga, of the Dark Ages, of the old and the new, the old tradition and the New Age ET tradition. Wow, when I tried to re-engage for compensation, because I made all these videos, he's still using my videos, he's still selling it. He's still using it on his presentation. And I tried to negotiate with it, and they weren't happy with that. You know, but I was like, hey, I never signed off on it. And when I re-engaged, I was centered, but something told me, get angry, get upset. And I was like, wow. I started getting angry about it, and wow, it really drove me insane. It almost drove me nuts. And looking back at the ranch, there were other people that went bonkers over there before. I've heard stories before, and someone actually even, there were people who went bonkers before. So I realized, wow, whatever is coming through him, doesn't matter what's going on. All they want to do is create more terror, more destruction, more chaos. Because that energy breathes in that. And so I was like, you know what? I did threaten them. I told them, like, you know what? I'm going to report you guys to the officials, and that this is not a volunteer work. You know, this because of definition of volunteer and all of that stuff. And I just told them, you know what? I'm going to drop it. Forget it. I'm just going to drop it. And I had to disengage because I could not engage with that energy. It was just too much. And the origins of the black belt, I'm sure there's a lot of versions of the black belt and how that came to be, but I'm going to share the version that was given to me. That in the beginning, everybody wore white, representing purity. And when they were training in their martial arts and in their ways, they got thrown, they got tossed, they sweat, they bled, and their colors, their belts, their gi started changing color, and hence came the ranking system. Eventually, their gi and their belt, their uniform got all black. And that was a ranking system where it was a recognition that this person had worked hard towards their development. Yeah? But then when you reach a black belt, that's really where you begin to start to learn. Because before then, it was just preliminaries. You didn't learn anything. When you reach a black belt, then you're really starting to learn. And here, I'm back in Hawaii, I'm just like, wow. Because the Grand Master wears white. Because he can't be touched anymore. He's been tossed, he's been thrown, he's been cut. He's been through the ringer, and he can't be touched no more, you know? So with me, I feel like, man, I'm just starting on my journey. I'm just really starting to begin to learn about how things really work. I really don't know anything. And I'm back here to prove T2000 wrong, that Hawaii did not fall. We're still here. It's still paradise. The world will go on. Next slide. Some of the similarities. Both of them had massive egos. If you really pay attention and listen, you'll see it. And I believe their egos hijacked their mission. You ever hear them talk about love and compassion? There's absolutely no juice. No juice whatsoever. I mean, I felt more love and compassion with T1000 than I did with T2000. T2000, he's like, it's not really there. He's waiting for the power up, for the beam up. You know, and again, this is my experience. You know, check it out for yourself. You know, a huge sexual immaturity. Again, any weakness will be used against you. They both have a ticket out. They're both waiting to just beam out of this planet, you know, not investing. They're both also narcissistic sociopaths. All they can think about is themselves. They terrorize and hurt everybody that they love. Parasitic in nature, both of them will squeeze anyone that tries to help them for all that they've got, from money, from energy, from everything. You know, they'll squeeze all that you got, push everybody. Service turned into servitude. No family support, no family investing back in family or community. And really look at what they're creating. What are they trying to create? What are they giving back to? Both of these, I believe, they're at the mercy of the gods because they put their power outside of themselves. Always looking to the gods or the ETs, you know. Skill and wisdom. What's a gift can become a curse, and what's a curse can become a gift. Both of these had huge gifts. But without the discipline, it becomes a curse. What's a medicine can become a poison, and what's a poison can also become a medicine. I'm trying to turn my poison into a medicine, you know? Wow. Body, mind, and spirit, you gotta include the body in your discipline, in your training of the path and the spiritual path. All of the indigenous cultures, to the Egyptians, they all had some type of body, either drumming, dancing. In Taoism, their dancing evolved into a more, just refined and evolved a lot more. Even the ancient Egyptians, from what I read and I understood, Buddha was a sacred warrior. He was a prince. There were a lot of holy wars at that time. He was a warrior. He gave up his throne, but he was a master combat, hand-to-hand combat artist. Even Jesus, those days was rugged. He wasn't a pushover. He was a master swordsman, you know? I'm just trying to get back into my discipline and daily practice, and there's a lot of richness in the indigenous arts, and there are no shortcuts in life. I do realize, and that I was asking for empowerments. I was trying to get implants, or like I was asking for the symbiote and all that stuff. There are no shortcuts to spiritual development. Is there a shortcut to becoming a good person? There are no shortcuts, Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, while mastering yourself is true power. And right now, I'm just working really on developing myself and working on myself, connecting with people here in Hawaii, in the circle, in the community, reinvesting back. I think that deception is really, what you hear a lot is about potentials of bliss, power, abilities, gift, taking to another planet, exotic technology, activate your DNA, DNA upgrade, third eye activation, light body, immortality, higher dimensions, evolve, evolution, and all of this stuff, These sucker us. It's like it's the bait, And of course they use flowery words, and how are they able to deceive us? I think it's because in the West we're starving and desperate. We know that these higher dimensions, higher realities are real, but it seems like they're just outside of our grasp, and so we're quick to bite anything that comes along. We snatch the first bait. Spiritual seduction of power, of gift, but that is not the measure of a spiritual teacher, man. Some of these spiritual teachers, they may represent a foothold in uncharted territory. It's like if someone who knew how to fly. We all want to have visions and imagine, have memories of being able to fly. Imagine you knew somebody who knew how to fly, but they weren't quite the most integral in that they were playful, and yet they just led you along. What I mean? It's sort of like that. Some of these spiritual teachers. The Mordor, the darkest of the dark, isn't dark. It isn't black. Look at this stuff. If this thing was painted black, we would all be afraid. They painted white to make it look like docile, but like, dude, that looks dangerous. But of course you're gonna paint that white, right?
Already
Gold, right? The most darkest of beings. The most darkest of beings would probably look like an amazing glowing light being. They won't look like the devil. Be human. We are human. In Buddhists, they say that it's most precious to have the gift of the human body. Out there, probably on distant universes, there are ETs talking about, I wish I was a human. I'm going to channel a human today. You know what I mean? I'm going to channel Buddha. He was a human. Be human. Be here. This is what it's about. All of our gifts, all of our spiritual potential that you hear about, telekinesis, levitating on water, turning wine into water, telekinesis, teleportation, that all exists in the physical body, in our DNA, in our genetics, of the physicality. Without the physical body, you can't do it. Genetics is the most precious commodity, man. In Troy, what was his name? Troy, Achilles. He told the priest, I'll tell you something they don't teach you in the temple. The gods envy us. They envy us. You know what I mean? They're always here trying to prey on us because they want what we have. Though where we still have a lot of upgrades to go to, but I think we're heading there, but through discipline, Again, I just put this slide together in 2 weeks, and I'm just trying to wrap it up. Distraction, I think a lot of people are just, it's all about our attention, time, and energy, because we magnetize events into our life by our attention, like a magnet. So these TVs and all this distraction, that's what they do. And they always get you into the past or the future, always researching about the past or researching about the future or what it could be, but never in the present, In this day and age, it's so chaotic, time is speeding up. We need to try and stay in the eye of the storm and focus on what's eternal, focus our energies, on developing the self, of yourself, of your own God source connection in your own heart. Just wrapping this up here, it's almost done. Accessing the vortex, the property was amazing, was because it was on an energetic vortex. Because of the earth grid lines. But you know what? Vortexes can be created anywhere. The most powerful vortex is right in our heart. This vortex will connect you with the divine, the one source that created everything, Sacred space is created anywhere, you know. I'm just trying to add a little bit of wisdom at the end, so bear with me in my attempt here. The responsibility of creation. Creation doesn't stop, and your heart is your connection. If you don't focus on what you're creating and get straight on what you want, someone else, something else is going to tell you what to do and what to create. And if you're always like that, then you're never going to reach towards that Christmas tree and become a star, you know. Focus on yourself and your development. Sit and be with yourself, you know. Get to know yourself, you know. Importance of family, community, healing, you know. Both of T1000 and T2000 never invested, you know. Even in their healings, it was just for money. We want to be stewards of the planet. Let's begin with our spirit, mind, and our bodies. Just take care of our bodies, you know. And the flower of life, it's beautiful. You know, it's a spiritual technology. It's a vortex, a toroidal field. It does this and that. And it all begins with a point in the center and a circle. And when all of these come together, all of these, this is the symbol of Zen, of circle. And this is the most difficult calligraphy to draw, is a circle. There's all these fancy calligraphies, but the Zen, the circle is the most challenging and difficult to draw. And when all of these come together, they form the flower of life. And here's Buddha forming his circle, working on himself, sat under a tree until he reached his enlightenment. You know, it's not about trying to save the world or anything like that, but of course reinvest and do what you can. If it's within my realm and my scope to develop like technology, because my background is a mechanic, then that's what you should do. If your scope is in energy healing and all this stuff, then that's what you should do. Contribute and give back in your sphere of influence, because when you're solid and you're strong in your sphere, you lend strength to other people, you know? Rather than worrying about what other people are doing across the world and what war is fighting, what planet, what president is running for presidency, or what's happening across the world, worry about your circle. Get your circle solid so that you can form one of these beautiful mandalas, you know? Oh, we go back. And you know, what these two talked about was, they didn't talk about connecting with the different gods or the different angels. They talked about connecting with the Father, one Father. He connected with the Source, the omnipresent, the one Source that was beyond duality. They didn't talk about intermediaries, you know. They didn't get trapped in because there's a lot of traps in all of these. There's a lot of, in the Christmas tree, there's a lot of candy, sparkling balls and all this stuff. But reach for the star, go to the Source. That's what they taught. They taught that there's no more time for intermediaries, you know. Do not put the power and authority outside of yourself, you know. Heroes wanted. In this planet Earth, there are heroes. There's an ad for heroes right now. And I think the ETs are here to help. They came and they incarnated on this planet, and they are here to help. They are us. Look in the mirror. You know what I mean? We are the ETs that we've been waiting for. On one planet, we have these different races, different colors, and different eyes. Where does these different eyes come from? We are the ETs. They came here to help. You know, they're all working through us in our dreams, inspiring us to be the hero. Get up early in the morning and work and dedicate. There is no easy work. Look at the hero. A lot of times the hero was struggling himself. He was maybe crippled. You know, the wounded healer. He was crippled. He was hurting, but he healed whatever he had to heal. You know. And it was, you know, they went up against insurmountable odds, you know. That's what the hero story is. If you look at a lot of the mythology, you know, they went against what the priest was talking about, went against tradition, you know. Heroes wanted. Thank you for